Why do you call me at this time?
You promised us a painless death if we give ourselves up. Come and get us.
You can wait. Call me again at another time.
Will it be all right? Should I be afraid? It's coming!
Looking for an old woman. She lives somewhere in the mountains hereabouts.
All she can do is take you straight to hell. You go home and you bury your boy.
Some folks will say as how she's got powers.
Who are you?
Ed Harley.
What do you want, Ed Harley? Say it. You're looking for vengeance. Vengeance. Say it. There's an old graveyard way back deep in them woods. The thing you're looking for is in there.
It was an accident.
It's gotta run its course. Now it begins. It begins.
Back to the show.
Welcome to the Hormonal Werewolves, the only YouTube show that simultaneously takes a deep dive into movies while also looking like we did no research.
It's your professionalism that I respect.
The only show that looks at movies new and old, good and bad, everything in between. I am one of your hosts, Canadian Boy Ryan, and joining me as always are your hosts, Adam. How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. That's the trick, isn't it? That's the earmarks of a true pro. When it looks like you're not even trying, like you just rolled out of bed and started talking about movies.
I've never even seen tonight's movie. And of course, we're also joined by Abby Road Rage. How you doing tonight,
How
Abby?
you doing? Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing
Nice
great.
to see your faces.
Likewise.
Tonight's movie is something we've had on our list for pretty much since the beginning of the show, but for some reason we've always
It's gotten bumped.
It keeps
Yeah.
getting bumped. Well, to be honest, we never had something great to pair it with, and I'll keep it as a surprise for next week's episode. But I do feel
we nailed it.
we nailed it. I think we finally nailed it for the pairing.
Are you sure about that?
But of course, tonight's movie, Pumpkinhead, from 1988. This seems older.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It might be that whole what is this called? What type of horror is this?
Oh, like folk,
folk horror. Thank you. Yeah.
I actually, folk horror totally fits, or American Gothic would be another.
American Gothic, yeah. And I think that kind of adds to the fact that it feels older than it actually is.
Got that sepia tone to it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in this movie is either blue or fucking orange.
Yeah.
But it works.
But it works.
Looks gorgeous. I actually have written down that it's maybe I'm not that big of a film buff that I generally pay attention to lighting per se. And usually if I'm ever listening to a podcast and they start veering into that territory, I start dozing pretty quickly.
Kind of just glazes over.
But I have to say, this movie has my favorite lighting out of any movie that I've ever seen. It's just like at nighttime, how the moon, how they encapsulates the moon, like backlights everything, trees, shadows, and then during the daytime, how they just show like light coming through windows, and you just see dust particles, and it's just amazing how this movie is lit.
And I think that can be a good testament to I don't know who he got for his cinematographer, but Stan Winston directed this. Special effects magician, Stan Winston. And having a special effects artist as your director, like
As your
if anybody's going to
director.
know how to light
Yeah.
to show off your creature effects, it's going to be the guy who gave us the Queen Alien, the Terminator, the T-Rex, the weird witch from that fucking movie where you can't go out of the light. Darkness Falls. That's not a big
Darkness
one.
Oh, right.
Falls. Oh,
I saw that in theaters 3
goodness.
times.
I see you, bitch!
Acting.
Really?
Yeah, I don't
Isn't
know
that
why.
with Sean Beam? Doesn't he die in that? No,
No,
that's a different
didn't
one.
he die?
Sorry. He dies in everything. Wasn't narrowing it down too much.
I had talked to Chris about this movie in the past. Our buddy Chris, that actually works for Stan Winston Studios, or what's it called now? Legacy Effects. Yeah,
Legacy.
and he was a pretty good buddy of Shane Mahan, who did the Queen Alien or the Queen Alien effects in Aliens, and he basically said that Stan was this was his first directing gig, and he was so he just wanted to be the director. He was primarily focused on that, to not fuck that up. So he gave his creative team complete and total control over the
Nice.
creation of the Pumpkinhead
Mhm.
monster.
And they did quite well, in my
Oh,
opinion.
oh my gosh, what just a fun and iconic monster. I mean, it's right up there with Xenomorph. I would say, and you can definitely it's Xenomorph adjacent, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Like its
Yeah, the way
structure.
yes, 100%. It's very Geiger, I guess you could
Yeah, for
say.
sure.
Like you could tell they had a blueprint. Then they're like, it's kind of like when
It's worked for us.
they take an existing product and put a clock in it, and then sell it as a new product. But this, yeah. But I mean, Pumpkinhead is
Ooh.
arguably one of the best looking creatures, I'd say.
Yeah.
In the lexicon of creature features.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking last week about how Adam wasn't thrilled with the monster in that, and I feel like
Blue
this
Monkey.
more than makes up for it because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so well
for
done.
sure. I mean, from afar, it's beautiful. For up close, when you see the facial
And it does
features
the little
and all
snarl
the
thing.
all the expressions that it has, it's can't get much better than that.
So I'm going off on a little side tangent here because, as I've mentioned before on this show, I have IMDb up while we're discussing, and I pulled up Stan Winston's filmography as a director. Other than a few Michael Jackson videos, and he did direct that Terminator theme park ride, he's only ever directed one other feature. Have you guys seen this movie, A Gnome Named Norm?
Giant popos.
I remember it. I did no idea that he did that.
I just pulled it up on IMDb, and let me tell you, it's playing the trailer right now. It is unlocking some childhood memories.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have seen this movie, and I didn't like it because the gnome in it is fucking terrifying.
Really? Oh, that's
So I think we're gonna have to watch this together.
Yeah.
It apparently is not as well revered as Pumpkinhead.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
Go
No
figure.
accounting for taste, I suppose.
Yeah, that must be it.
The funny thing was, so I've seen this movie a number of times, and I was flipping through Facebook last night or the night before, and conventions were coming up, and they had like a bunch of the Lost Boys, and I didn't realize because when I was looking at the guy that played Laddie, his name is Chance Michael Corbett. He played Laddie in the Lost Boys.
Oh yeah.
And it said he was in Pumpkinhead, and I'm like, like I'll literally just watch Pumpkinhead. So he played young Ed Harley when he was a kid.
Oh, and in the bed, yeah.
And so now I got to go back and watch it again because I didn't recognize him, obviously, but I did recognize Mayim Bialik as one of the Wallace kids. And I think every time I see this movie, I remember that she
Who?
plays one of the Wallace kids. Blossom, Mayim Bialik.
Oh shit! Yeah,
She
look at that.
plays one of the Wallace kids, one of the dirty little Wallace kids.
She doesn't even
And
have a
every
name in the
time I
movie.
see
She's
this
just called
movie, I
Wallace
go,
Kid.
"What's that?"
She doesn't even have a name in the movie. She's just called Wallace Kid.
Wallace Kid, yeah.
Dirty girl.
Dirty
Girl
Wallace Kid.
girl with dirt on face.
On face kid. Yeah, that narrows it
Because
down.
every child in this looks like the orphans from Beyond Thunderdome. But a few episodes ago, you guys had an epiphany when we brought up that the little girl in the beginning of Alligator was the grown up.
Yes.
Okay.
My brain
I've seen
exploded.
this a multitude of times. I don't know if I'm always grabbing a beer during the first 5 minutes or what I'm doing. This was the first time I
remember seeing the opening.
figured out that the family in the beginning was Ed's parent, father and mother, and that was little Ed in the bed. I never knew that.
Cindy Drag go.
Huh.
Yeah, I just never knew that. I never caught on that Wish Sid Haig was his father.
Yes.
And that, all that stuff was going on. Just never figured that out. Never said I was the sharpest tool in the shed.
You figured out Alligator. So I guess, birds of a feather or whatever.
And I love how Adam figured out Alligator, which with the exception of one dropped line, like 45 minutes into the movie, there's no connective tissue at all. Meanwhile, in this, Lance has several flashbacks to
being a child
and seeing that opening scene. We see Dick Warlock get hung up by Pumpkinhead so many times in this movie.
I didn't make you guys feel bad, okay?
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
During the Alligator reveal, I let it slide.
No, that blew me away, man. Totally did. Yeah, so baby Ed got to see a man being caught and killed by a monster when he was just a wee lad. Laddie, get it? See, back around.
Speaking of Dick Warlock in the beginning, sorry, Abby, to interrupt you. Just since we're on that really quick, this movie does have quite a few random ass, like kind of, I don't want to say heavy hitters, but it has a lot of small roles by a lot of like big character actors. Like you got Buck Flower in the movie, Brian Bremer, of course, in probably arguably his most memorable role.
I want my boy! What have you done with him? I'm your son now! Not him!
Dick Warlock, as I mentioned, and apparently the chick
Hollywood
from Blossom.
A-lister Buck Flower.
Okay.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time.
Look, all I'm saying is if you've got a John Carpenter flick that don't have Buck Flowers in it, then you don't have a John Carpenter flick.
Isn't he always plays the homeless guy sleeping on
the
a bench?
drifter,
Like I think isn't that what he plays in Back to the Future?
And I think also in They Live.
Yeah. He plays the same guy, a homeless vagrant.
He plays a cook in Starman. We just watched Starman. I don't remember him.
See, John Carpenter, and he was a janitor in Village of the Damned.
I haven't seen that movie in 100 years.
Yeah, he was Red the Bum in Back to the Future. He was Tramp in The Night Stalker.
I remember. No,
this man's filmography.
He was Drifter on a bench in They Live.
Nice.
Jesus Christ,
it's fantastic.
Can I just say one of the things I love most about this movie?
What's that?
I love that they have a witch named Haggis.
Haggis? What is haggis?
Sheep's stomach stuffed with meat and barley.
And what do you do with it?
You eat it. How revolting.
Because she looks the way I feel haggis would taste, if that makes sense.
Christ.
Yeah, I've never had a desire to try it.
No.
The fine Scottish cuisine.
I'd eat
it. It doesn't surprise me that you would eat it, but
The things I've put in my mouth, I'm not. Yeah, no, I'm not
I'm not
shy.
proud.
I'm proud.
I'm proud.
Haggis
I
is everybody loves to like gush about Pumpkinhead.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, they just managed to find some disheveled like corpse of a woman who just
Yeah,
happened to be an actress because this makeup is phenomenal.
yeah, it's really good.
Haggis is, in my estimation, the greatest cinematic witch ever. Like you could argue like
Legend and this.
The Wild
Yeah.
West of the West from like Wizard of Oz or whatever. But like that's kind of
I
a
think the Swamp
cartoony.
Witch from Legend, just
Yeah,
like
but I
that
like the
kind of.
Swamp Witch, but like if she wasn't called Swamp Witch, would you even think like she's a swamp monster? You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like this is like what you think of
she
when you think of like
embodies witch.
Halloween, like a cult witch. And I could take an entire movie just about Haggis. She like this movie would be great. She lifts the material. Her character alone lifts the material up from your standard creature feature fare.
You'll fail, Ed Harley. You'll fail and you'll die, too.
Then I'll die. Then I'll die.
And pay the final price all the sooner.
God damn you. God damn you.
He already has, son. He already has.
Everything about her, like you said, like the aesthetics of how the witch makeup or whatever. I hope that's makeup.
I hope
Um,
I'm sure that's makeup.
the performance, just like everything about her, feels like it's so creepy, so
Speaking
genuine.
of Brian Bremer, he tells a story of him and Lance Henderson that Lance said basically that whole, there are no small roles. Like any role you get, no matter how bad the movie, give it 110%. And I think everybody in this movie really did that.
Yeah, he's really good in this movie, Brian Bremer.
Brian Bremer's great in this movie. Lance Hendrickson he breaks my heart in
Yeah,
this movie over and over again.
I struggle when I'm trying to figure out what his defining role is, whether it's this or Bishop. I guess it's Bishop, just because Bishop has come back so many times at this point.
That's true.
But this is if it's not A, it's like 1A, 1B type of
Right.
a stitch.
Yeah, they're pretty fine lined there.
His
And I love him
acting,
in Near Dark.
his acting chops in this movie though, like he's remembered as Bishop, but this movie he really gets to shine as an actor.
Speaking of chewing up the scenery.
That scene where his son, it's right after his son gets hit, and Lance picks him up, and that one kid is like, "Hey, is there anything I can do to help?" And Lance just turns and looks at him.
Oh, I wrote that down.
Somebody saw him. It was an accident. But can I help?
He said the look that Lance gives that kid when he says, "Can I help?" could literally curdle milk. Like it is just,
Yeah.
it's brilliant. So
Pumpkinhead,
good.
Pumpkinhead wouldn't get a chance to kill me because that look alone would have stopped my heart.
Right.
I'd have been dead on the spot.
If looks could kill.
But yeah, and just like all the scenes with his son and everything, like you don't see Lance doesn't get a lot of roles like this. Like
The family guy.
has he ever been a leading man in any other movie?
No, I always wondered what would have happened. Because the original plan was he was going to be the Terminator. Like that would have been an entire different movie. But just the beginning of this movie, when you see him with his shirt off and how jacked he is, like he's a different kind of jacked than
He's
Bruce
that
Arnie is.
lean, wiry, working man.
I'd say that while Arnie's Terminator would always be more like what's the word? Impressive to look at.
Yeah.
He would have been the scarier version. Like he's one of those rare actors, kind of like William Dafoe, where like cast him as a villain, cast him as anything. He doesn't even need makeup or prosthetics. His face is just
His face will tell you the story.
so striking and scary looking on its own.
There's a lot of argument back and forth, even between us, whether or not Terminator is considered a horror movie. And I think if it had been Lance Henriksen instead of Schwarzenegger, there
It would
wouldn't be
definitely
any
be
question.
yeah.
Terminator
Yeah.
would 100% be a horror movie.
That's a point. Yeah, that is a good point.
Because Lance is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, he is. And the sweetest man you ever met, but just and he plays such a good daddy in this. Like even
Yeah.
after I mean, it genuinely I had a hard time bringing myself. I loved this movie, but I had a hard time starting it again because that scene where he brings his boy back and he's washing the dirt off
Oh,
him
oh,
and
it killed me
Ugh,
this time. It
yeah.
it
killed me.
just it breaks my heart.
Once upon a time, there was this old man. And he had this very, very special son. Yeah, baby.
I never used to have that effect on me, but like I was just sitting there going, "Man, I'm old as fuck," because this
Yeah.
hurts my heart.
It hits different.
Watching
Yeah, it hits
watching this
different.
movie as like as a 12-year-old when you're not supposed to be watching horror movies
Yeah.
versus watching this movie as a 40-year-old, like the most gut-wrenching part of this, like everything that happens at the beginning of this movie, in my opinion, as a father of 2 kids,
Yes,
is
who
way
is
more
now
horrifying to me
broken. He's
than
lost
the
his
back half.
wife and now he's lost his only son. He's all alone. I mean, it is just it and again, he emulates that with his facial expressions, with his eyes. Like he's fantastic in this and he does wield a nice flamethrower, all shirtless flamethrower.
Gets all sweaty.
But
Kind of
even
a jerk.
leading up to that scene, you can just feel the impending doom. Like you can just it's palpable. You just here's this cute little kid with
Well, he's got those
bottle
Coke bottle
glasses
glasses.
and
You know that means he's got to
yeah,
die. I
and
mean,
like he's like the human head weighs 8 pounds. Kid
yeah,
from Jerry Maguire.
exactly.
Do you know bees and dogs can smell fear?
Is that who it is? No, it's
No,
not.
no,
No,
it's
it's
different
not.
people.
But it just
Okay.
I kept
But
trying to figure out what I know this kid from other than this, which is what I guess I do. But he reminds me very much of that kid with the human head.
yeah, for sure.
And then what's his name with the bees and the he can't see without his glasses. It just
Oh, Macaulay Culkin in My Girl.
Oh god.
It was such a weird movie. Why was
Yeah.
that movie marketed to kids in the first place? Nothing about that movie is
a kid.
really a kid's movie. I mean, I guess
Coming of age movie, I
coming of age
suppose.
movie, I guess, but it was marketed as like a fun kids
Was it?
movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Like the
God, I
trailers
don't
and stuff
know.
made it
Yeah.
look fun.
From the producer of Parenthood, Columbia Pictures presents Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis, Macaulay Culkin, and introducing Anna Klumsky.
And where is his glasses? He can't see without his glasses. Put his glasses on. Put on his glasses.
My Girl.
What the hell is even that?
Just think of the movies they used
Oh
to
yeah, with her
subject us
dancing
to.
and it's like Bridge to Terabithia, which was my
Never
favorite
ending
book when
story when your horse
Yeah.
drowns in mud. Like the shit they used to make us watch.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Everything that's wonderful is what I feel. Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Everything that's wonderful is what I feel.
Dear sweet little foot, do you remember the way to the Great Valley?
I guess so. But why do I have to know? You're gonna be with me.
I'll be with you, even if you can't see me.
What do you mean if I can't see you? I can always see you.
Littlefoot, let your heart guide you. It whispers, So listen closely.
Mother? Mother?
Emotional, damn it!
I can't watch that scene still. I like to walk out of the room. There's a
Yeah.
couple scenes, that and in the abyss where she has to drown.
Mm.
Like, I just like to mute it. That's fine. I can just mute it. I can't hear it.
I'm just
But
saying
anyway,
I'm just saying the trailer though, like the trailers for My Girl made it look like a fun,
Yeah.
fancy-free kind of kids movie.
yeah.
Like to put it in comparison, this would be like if they released a trailer for Schindler's List, but put the
Right.
song Venga Bus on it. Like it would be it's the most misleading thing in the world.
It's so wrong.
You're gonna do that, aren't you, in this episode?
Yeah, maybe I
I
would do
might
that.
have to.
Oh God, we're gonna.
Well, the
get
reason they did
we're
that
gonna
was
get
because of
canceled.
was because of the popularity of Home Alone. Like Home Alone came out first, and then they were like, "Oh, well, that was a whimsical comedic farce,
Yeah,
so
Okay.
we'll
Let's
advertise."
at least they
yeah.
didn't try that with The Good Son.
Yeah,
I actually really like that movie.
I did too.
I haven't seen it since it came out.
I saw it in the movies a couple times actually, because I was pretty sure that the guy I was dating at the time that was like his life story. Another story for another day. But
Jesus
anyway,
Christ, Pumpkinhead.
yeah, Pumpkinhead.
Some of the
So
aesthetics that I like about Pumpkinhead, two things. I like how there's always lightning or that weird pumpkin head light that always follows him
Mhm.
around.
the backlight, yeah. So it
Yeah.
just I just hit a
Well,
lamp.
you can see him coming because there's the flashing, almost
Hmm.
like a strobe light effect.
Mhm.
But there's also a rattle like sound
Yes.
that reminds me of Medusa from Clash of the Titans. It's that
Yes.
little very ooh,
It's
just gets under your skin. Like there's something crawling around outside.
You know the spot on Bradley Mountain where people park their cars?
Yes.
Can you take us there?
I think it's here now.
A cross between a rattlesnake and a cicada.
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
I was looking for my notes because I wrote that down somewhere about cicada noises. But
But yeah, Pumpkinhead is such a, and it's Pumpkinhead, by the way, is played by Tom Woodruff Jr., who would go on to play the xenomorph in Alien
oh, I
3,
didn't
Alien
realize.
Oh, there's
Resurrection.
another connection. I had no idea.
Yeah. And I now going back and rewatching this, I do have to say you can tell there are limitations to the creature. Pumpkinhead doesn't do a
Mm.
lot of moving around.
Mm-mm.
And when he does, it's
Just
only a few steps at a time.
big arms. It's usually like
Yeah.
you just see a limb.
But everything else is only strengthening him more. As you mentioned, Adam, like you get that cool strobing effect, and the music is just fucking going nuts.
Yeah. No, they
It
use every
it
trick under the sun. Smoke
to
and
hide the
mirrors.
limitations of the creature, yeah.
Yeah.
I did have a little flashback to Canadians in My Bloody Valentine where he like palms that girl's
Oh,
head and like picks
picks her
her
up.
up by her head, and I was like, oh, it's a
Killer was
theme.
Pumpkinhead all along.
That would be a hell of a
Like, you know, when
crossover.
you used to go see, like when you were a kid, if you saw a professional basketball player and they would always
Mm.
like inadvertently put their hand on the kid's head, and that's what it reminded me of. Just this giant.
So what's your guys' favorite Pumpkinhead kill?
Oh,
I like when he drags that chick up the tree and just drops her. Because
yes,
the visual image of Pumpkinhead at the top of this giant tree.
just holding her up like
Yeah.
by her head and
Just
just
holding her up like almost like King Kong or something, and then just like dropping her.
yeah, that's a
Was
good one.
was pretty
I'm
rad.
trying to remember.
I like the one where it's the second kill after he kills the first guy, and then he grabs the girlfriend, tries to run out of the house, and Pumpkinhead lifts her up over the roof.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's just a little later in the movie, you just randomly get, because you get the strobing effect, so you know something's coming, and he just pushes her face against the
Yeah.
Oh,
window.
against the glass.
And it's, if any, for some reason, it should be silly because she's doing the whole nose
Yeah.
up thing. And,
Oh, it's
but
awesome.
I'm just
I forgot
watching this,
about
and
that.
even as an adult, I'm still like, that's really fucking creepy.
Yeah, it is.
Like he's playing
Yes.
with it. He's playing
Yeah.
with her.
It's like
Yeah.
it's almost
Don't play
like
with your food.
rubbing your dog's face in the mat after he peed on it or
Yeah.
something. Like
Bad.
bad human.
But that really, yeah, stuff like that really creeps me out. I love that Pumpkinhead, like you guys said, like I like how he kind of plays with his food.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't
Pumpkin.
get to walk around and cause havoc very often, so
Mhm.
he's enjoying this time that he has.
I feel
I also
Haggis
wondering.
should have clarified more, like why do witches got to be vague? Is all I'm saying.
Oh, why? Which has got to be
Because
fake.
if they were specific, then nobody would go along with their little plans.
I think he still would have at the time,
Yeah,
even if he
I
knew that he was going to die. I think he still would have been like, and she's like, "You're going to feel their pain," and he's like,
I
"Good, I
found
want to feel their
myself
pain."
wondering why he was going after the entire group and not just the person that ran him over.
Because he didn't know who ran him over. He just knew they were a group of kids. And he didn't listen to him because when he got back, he didn't. Everybody was gone except for the one guy, and he got shut down pretty quick, as we
There
I
talked
seems
about.
to be some sort of clairvoyance thing going on though. Like if you know where I don't know. It just
I kind of got the feeling he thought Pumpkinhead was only going to go after the
The
one who
one.
was responsible.
Yeah,
and he went.
maybe.
Well, I don't know
And
because
since they
he
all
did give
covered
that
it
kid the
up.
death stare, like he wanted to kill him. So
Yeah.
I think at first he just wanted them all to die
Vengeance.
until later in the movie where he has a change of
Mhm.
heart and Haggis tells him you're shit out of luck. Nothing you can do.
In
Oh my
your
god.
Haggis of ways.
It's what you wanted.
No, not like this. Not like this. I see it. This is wrong.
Nothing I can do. It's gotta run its course now. What did you think? It'd be easy, neat and clean and painless.
So I do want to bring it back to an old episode of ours, the dog Gypsy. You
Oh
may
right.
Oh
remember
yes.
Mushroom from Gremlins.
Perfect.
Okay.
Mushroom played
Could
Barney in
not remember
Gremlins
yet.
and
Could not.
played Gypsy in this
Couldn't
movie.
couldn't
So
remember the dog's name. I thought it was Pickle.
You know,
pickle.
that dog is just as responsible for Little Billy's death as the
Yeah,
bikers. That little
Which,
dickhead.
and that's the worst part about it. This was a complete. I know he was drunk, but there's nothing he could have done. He
right.
was in the air. They were far
Yeah,
away. They were
the
far away from
drinking.
the.
Even if he was sober, he would have killed the
That's what I
guy.
mean. There
Yeah,
was.
it wouldn't have changed anything. But if he were,
Well,
I think taking accountability does help a lot. I know the one guy stayed, but everybody.
it's also Lance Hendrickson's fault. It's also Ed Harley's fault because he just leaves his kid there when these assholes who have already proven to be dickheads are dirt biking around on his property, which I would assume is his property because it's right outside his store. So it's like, why didn't he tell them to like scram?
Well, he told his kid to stay in the house.
In the
But
store.
the kid's like, how old was he? 6?
It's like
Like,
4,
Yeah,
he's
not
not
5.
even
gonna
I
older.
don't know.
listen.
Way too young.
Yeah, way
Big
too young to
Coke
be
bottle
left to
glasses.
himself
Come on.
with these dickheads outside. You know what I mean? There's no way I would have
Yeah.
left my kid in that scenario. That's all I'm saying.
But I mean, they're just small town folk. Like it's in 2 years, the kid probably would have been starting his own family.
Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
God.
talk about a movie where everyone like in this town, like they're all living in squalor. Like
Mhm.
it's like
Where does this take place? I know they say it. I just don't remember.
Louisiana.
That makes sense. Hmm.
But yeah,
you're
you're
talking
right,
like
Adam. Like,
dirt poor.
does anybody even have hydro? Like, there's no.
No, like that one family that like their house is basically held together
Mud
by like
and grass and hay.
yeah, like there's no way like Child services should definitely be called in that situation. I
Then we wouldn't have
I
Bunch.
don't think they have running water. Like, I think somebody needs to get involved there.
I mean, they all seem happy.
I
Like,
mean,
they
when
all,
their dad isn't smacking them upside their head, I
yeah,
guess.
they all have like all their potato sack clothes have their own little style to them. Like,
Yeah. They get 3 cans of beans a day to eat. They're good.
Good for your heart, man.
what is it with like down to earth folk like that where they always announce each other by their first and middle name?
Yeah.
Like,
Are
there's
they
like a
in
Sarah
trouble?
Ann, there's a Jimmy Joe.
Hey, can I take your picture? There you go.
You've stolen my soul!
Essie, look! What? Jimmy Joe, you give that here. Jimmy Joe got the ball and won't give it up.
And then you
They
have
have to say
Bunch.
the whole thing.
But then you got
Is it because they have like
Bunch.
20 kids and there's more than one Jimmy?
Maybe. Big Tony, little
You
Tony.
would think, but like in rural areas like that, people are pretty spread out. So it's not like you have to like. There's a bunch of Davies, Davy Joe, Davy Lee, Davy.
All I can think now is the ending to the Waltons.
Good night, Elizabeth. Good night, John boy. Good night, John boy. John boy?
Damn it, can't a guy masturbate in this house?
Who's worse, the little kids in this movie doing the Pumpkinhead torture around their little brother, or the Jamie's an orphan, Jamie's an orphan?
I'm sorry, that will always be the worst because
definitely the Jamie's an orphan kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, your uncle's a boogeyman, fine, but you're an orphan. Your mom's dead.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
you're right.
They literally
you're right.
say your
That's
mom's
pretty
a
harsh.
Jamie's mommy's a mommy.
You're right.
Like, I mean, these kids are just ribbing each other.
Jamie's
This is
mommy's
just usual
mommy.
brother
Yeah,
sister
you're right.
bullshit. To be fair, it turns out that just this time the boogeyman they were referencing was an actual vengeance demon that happens to exist. But
Right.
I mean,
They didn't know that
99
at the
times
time.
out of 100, that's not going to happen.
I do love how
The chances of that happening were pretty slim.
the chances are slim. I do love with this movie how Lance's character, how Ed Harley becomes more monstrous and Pumpkinhead starts to look more human the more they sort of meld
Yeah.
into each other. I dig that.
And that was something I did not pick up on when I was a kid. Like, I could tell, like, Lance Henriksen, because he was getting the evil eyes.
The
But
crazy
I
eyes,
never
yeah.
noticed until later on that, like, when we see
That
Pumpkinhead in those
Pumpkinhead
last
started
few
looking.
scenes,
He looks
he's
like
got, his face becomes more like Lance's.
Yeah.
It's
Which
kind
is-
of a cool.
And it's something I wish we've had 4 of these movies so far. I need one where Pumpkinhead finishes the ritual. I want to see what
let's see
happens
what
when
happens.
Pumpkinhead
Yeah,
kills
we never
everybody.
see what happens.
The closest we've gotten, I think, is this movie.
I guess he just goes back to the pumpkin graveyard, which because that's where he found the pump. Good, sorry. Good.
Oh, sorry. Everybody froze for a second. I apologize.
Oh,
but that doesn't, because he's becoming Lance, and Lance is becoming Pumpkinhead. So if the ritual is completed, I assume Lance will still go to the pumpkin, to the graveyard.
yeah.
But what happens to Pumpkinhead? Does he become a human? Does he get his life
No,
back?
I think he like
'Cause
absorbs him. I think he's like assimilated.
I'm wondering, because we've established that whoever summons the demon is cursed to become the demon. Maybe if the demon completes the ritual, that person
dies.
gets to become, that person might get to become a human again. They might get to become a person.
Right.
And that would
If
explain why
anybody out
Pumpkinhead
there
was
wants to
becoming more
make a
human.
movie,
You know, this is one of those movies where like he wanted these kids dead, and he was willing to sacrifice himself for it. Like I think he knew the ultimate payment. He didn't know how that was going to go down, but he knew that he was going to spend eternity in not in
this
a
was
not
the last thing
in a
he was
not so
doing.
nice place, right?
Yeah.
So I just, I can't help but question, just like rather than go through all that, why didn't he just get like what do they call it in Silver Bullet?
A
Is it
gun?
street justice?
Oh, okay.
Street justice.
Or whatever. Like, why didn't he just like go after them? Like,
Well,
and also,
I don't
that
know.
like why didn't he just pick them off?
Because I think it cuts back to what he saw as a child. Like he
I mean,
saw
he
Pumpkinhead.
was chiseled. He was made out of marble. You could cut Lance Henriksen out of granite in this movie. You could have killed all of these kids. You could have
Shine
killed
bright
all
like
of
a
these.
diamond. But like he saw what Pumpkinhead do, and he saw the
Up close
fear
and
in
personal.
Cockwizard's face when Dick Warlock. Sorry,
Is that what
How
we're
did you
calling
know
him?
my
Cockwizard?
How did you know my AOL handle?
He saw the fear in Dick Warlock's face. I think he wanted the kids to experience that.
No, it was pretty darn scary.
It's like 10 feet tall, and it hisses
no,
and
I'm not
clicks.
mocking. I agree. It's a scary fucking
Creepy
thing to happen
cicada
to you.
noises.
I think the most beautiful shot in this movie is when Pumpkinhead is standing at the entrance to the church.
Yeah, I have that written down.
Oh,
That's my
yeah.
favorite shot in the movie.
Yeah, 100%. And when he just starts walking into the church,
it's the most atmospheric shot too. 'Cause that's what you have the lights coming through the windows and coming through the cross at the top, and it just looks amazing. Absolutely amazing.
In my opinion, this is a movie that needs a remake.
I will love it.
For the
If done
reason,
correctly.
yes, because there is a lot of great to this movie, but it immediately got shat upon with a bunch of ridiculous direct-to-video sequels.
Yeah.
And melted into obscurity.
Well,
So
and even as you stated already, like there were severe limitations. Like
Mhm.
they pulled off some magic with the editing and cross cuts and
Mhm.
everything to make it look like Pumpkinhead was doing something. But like you said, he was a very stationary
Right. You just saw an
creature.
arm come out like a
Right.
giant puppet
I mean,
arm
a remake would
most
be
of the time.
to make it watch it move around. And although I will say there's a shot in this movie where they're hiding inside the cabin. And it's when they like one of the like they first get there and they know something's after them, but they don't know what. And there's just this shot of Pumpkinhead and he just walking past the window.
God is the only thing that can stop what's out there, Kim.
And I'm just like, it's such a cool
I pictured the Leonardo
vision.
DiCaprio
Yeah.
meme when you did that.
It's such a cool visual. It's just so awesome.
And I love that they don't focus on it.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
completely miss that he's back there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I probably have multiple times that I've watched
Oh, I
it.
know I have.
I love the scenery when they're walking up to the witch's house in the swamp, like the way that's lit and
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
That scene
Her
is so
little
pretty.
hut with the bridge going over the
All
bog.
the trees, all those windy trees. Love that shit, man.
No,
And
the
these were all
set
sets.
design,
Yeah.
set design in this movie is between
Fantastic.
that, what you were just talking about, and the pumpkin graveyard, which is one of my favorite sets in any movie
so
ever.
good.
Yeah.
It's just it's breathtaking what they were able to like. I'm sure they had a tight budget. What did they spend on this? I have it pulled up. It's
I'm just looking.
3.5 mil, which isn't
That's
even in the
88.
80s.
That's not but
Yeah,
late
that
80s.
wasn't
Like that's
that.
not a huge budget.
No.
So they spent it where they needed to, and as cool as Pumpkinhead is, this movie wouldn't be as great as it is if it wasn't for the awesome scenery and sets and the
Yes.
world that we get to sort of like explore while we're watching it.
And that one guy, that Wish Lance guest, he gets like tossed in the air on his motorcycle. I cackled like terribly. It was inappropriate.
I freaking love when he tries to start the bike. Pumpkinhead's just holding the chain.
Yeah. Yeah, he does have a sense of humor, Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
Like I said, he likes to play with his food. We do get Brian Bremer in the back half of this movie. as he's almost like a what's the term I'm trying to think of? He's not a MacGuffin. He's like the random expert that shows up in a movie to like explain to the
The
dummies
exposition
what.
dump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the exposition dump. And he does manage to pull off a believable character.
Yeah, it's
And
the eyes.
he is one of those child actors that you don't like. I've seen a lot of movies where I want to kick a kid. I did not hate his character in this movie.
No, actually, ever since I was a kid, I loved his character. Granted, it's pretty much all his fault because, he flags down Ed, says,
He got like $20 from it though, so
yeah, you
Yeah,
want to
to
see the
him,
witch?
that's
I'll
like
take you to
a
the
fortune.
witch.
buy the
I,
house next to his dad's shack. Like,
I mean, I'll take it a step farther. I don't. Every time I watch it, like I know he's a kid, but I never even like. It never even like resonates with me that he's a kid.
A child, right?
You know, he's
the
He's an
smartest one in
old
the movie.
soul.
right. Yeah, and he's got the acting chops of a veteran. He's wise beyond his years, even in the movie. So,
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm surprised Bremer never got more. Again, just like with now, Henriksen, of course, has been a staple in many, many movies, and he's had a very successful career. But the fact that Bremer just always stayed in the B
Kind of
movie
in the
realm,
shadows.
yeah,
Yeah.
has always been a bit of a mystery to me because, like, you see stuff he's in. I know a lot of people like to shit on Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, but
I
he's
love that
fucking
movie.
terrifying in that movie.
He was a real boy. I wasn't good enough.
Yeah. No,
And
I
he's
love
great.
that movie.
Yeah,
like,
and he's great in Society. I don't
oh,
get
I
why in
forgot
the
he
world
was in
didn't get
that.
more Bremer.
We need
Although
more
to be
Bremer.
fair,
How many sequels in this franchise are there?
what Silent Night,
4.
Deadly Night, or Pumpkinhead?
Oh,
Pumpkinhead.
There's 4,
Pumpkinhead is 4.
And
and
this
then there's
is
a
the only
comic
one
book
that
and a
he's
video
in,
game.
right?
Yes, his
Like,
character comes back in part 3, but it's not played by Bremer.
that's the thing.
Which
Like,
pisses me off.
why
Sorry.
couldn't he be the Loomis? Like,
Yeah.
in all 4 movies, wouldn't that just heighten every single
I mean, they
movie?
made Lance come back in the later movies, which
Because
was
let's be honest, like
difficult
even
to
like
do.
we all love our Halloween sequels, but even their quality is a bunch of peaks and valleys. But Loomis was always the mainstay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
put him in all 4 movies. Like, seriously, you don't have room for that in your budget?
Yeah,
Brian
I'm sure
Bremer,
Bremer would have loved to have come
More
back.
he wasn't in
Brian
like
Bremer.
Ocean's 11 or something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you could have afforded him.
I mean, we do get Andrew Robinson in part 2, so there is that.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Not, it's not the same.
I like Andrew, but it's not the same.
Now, you can cut this if you want, but I have a little aside here. What is the greatest jump scare in movie history? It's not in this
Exorcist
movie.
3?
Yeah, I would probably say Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
Ryan,
Um,
I have Exorcist 3
Or
written down.
Carrie.
You can disagree. Anyway,
no, I'll agree. I'm going to say Exorcist 3.
the reason I bring that up is because, as much as I love this movie, the worst jump scare of all time occurs in this movie. They're in the barn, and Brian Bremer is just sitting there, and like a dog just like trots up to him, not even fast, trots up to him and puts his head on his, and the music singer goes, like you're supposed to be scared, and you're almost just like, it's a dog.
Oh, you old dog.
Are you kidding me?
It's a weird spot for a jump scare because even logistically,
you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what scene you're talking about. Number one, that's not the barn. That's Ed Harley's house.
Okay.
It just looks like a
it
barn.
could be the same.
But
yeah,
he basically lives in a barn.
Logistically, too, we know Pumpkinhead's not there because it's cutting from that to them dealing with Pumpkinhead in another scene, I believe.
Everyone's house looks like a nativity scene. I can't tell the difference between a barn and a
The baby Jesus is always just off camera. But no, that is a bad jump scare. That music they use too. It kind of works, I guess, when we get the
that's what's so
dead son,
comical about it.
the dead
It's the
son
music.
coming up in the
Yeah.
truck.
Oh yeah, where he sits up in the car, but it doesn't really. But
What'd you do, Daddy?
So, guys,
There you go. You can't tell. You can't tell. We just got to that. All right, go ahead.
Towards the end, when Ed Harley is, he's already tried to slip inside himself, to get to, because he's determined that that's the only way to stop Pumpkinhead. Because at this time they've shot him, they've tried to fry him with a flamethrower, and nothing's working. He shoots himself, but that doesn't.
He's a terrible shot.
Yeah, I mean, he shoots
himself in the head and
but
like misses.
He's got to really his brain has abs, just like his.
You didn't need that. You didn't need that part of the brain.
So I don't remember when this happens, but like the girl gets the gun, and I think Ed Harley is standing up again, even though he's
starting to bring himself up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Kill me." And she doesn't like shoot him in the face. She shoots him in the dick 3 times. I was just like,
I remember that.
What?
It's terrible.
What a cruel way.
Well, when you said shoot me in the head,
if I'm sacrificing myself for you, like, I'm sacrificing myself for you. If I ever do this for one of you guys, Abby, you're coming in April. If something happens and I'm sacrificing myself for you,
right between the
please
eyes,
don't
babe.
shoot me in my dick.
Nope. This is not
No
RoboCop.
promises.
No promises.
End scene.
Fair.
All right,
I
we're
do
gonna hop
like
in.
though
Oh, go ahead.
at the end when
I tried.
and then we could.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa. That's too damn bad.
But when Ed goes into the grave, basically, where Haggis puts Ed Harley into the grave for Pumpkinhead because he's now kind of transformed and he's still wearing the necklace that his little boy made him.
Okay, 2 things about that. One, because I was doing something towards the end. Do they show him shriveling down to the Pumpkinhead body?
Yes, his body is shriveled up when she's burying him.
Okay.
And he's starting to look like the corpse that she initially.
And you only know it's him because he's wearing the necklace that Billy made him.
The only other question I have is, in the second film, which I've watched and actually did a podcast on, but I remember nothing about it. Was the Pumpkinhead that Ed Harley?
Nope.
Bullshit.
Nope. All they had to do was the bare minimum and have that little necklace. But no.
Fuck you, Blood Wings.
To be fair, it is him in part 3.
Okay. Well, fuck you, Blood
Didn't
Wings.
he come back as a ghost in part 3?
He is a ghost.
Yeah.
He is a ghost.
That's when he was hitting the convention circuit, and he'd probably come on our show at this point.
All right, so we're gonna hop into the rating space here. I was away from my mic. Sorry about that. And let's Adam, you go first.
Okay. Okay. This isn't a movie I grew up with. I probably watched this for the first time like within the last 10, 15 years. Whoa. And I immediately said to myself, man, did I miss out? I've since come to the conclusion that this is one of the greatest creature features of all time. It's a mainstay for me around October every year. The perfect, even though it doesn't really have Halloween vibes per se, something about it just works. I think Haggis is, like I've said before, probably the best cinematic witch, at least in a horror movie, that I've ever seen. And yeah, I mean, I wish Stan Winston had a chance to make more films like this. It's a shame that it was sort of a one and done, other than the gnome movie.
Gnome named Norm.
I mean, like, Pumpkinhead, the creature, is probably up there with the Xenomorph and with the Predator and some other things. Is like one of the coolest monster designs ever. And it's so much lesser known than those other ones, and it's kind of a shame. But no, I love this movie. I'm gonna go full 5.
Wow.
I haven't done that in a minute. I love this flick. I'm gonna go 5 out of 5 worst jump scares of all time in one of the best horror movies. Out of 5.
Out of 5. Excellent.
Abby, you want to jump on it?
So this is one of those movies that I don't even remember the first time I saw. It had to be shortly after. I didn't see it in the theaters, I know that. So it had to be on a, VHS rental on the weekend or something. But I've just always enjoyed what we talked about, the cinematography, the feeling, like you can actually feel this movie. You can feel how dirty everybody is. You can feel how sweaty everybody, it's just a very visceral movie. I think the effects are fantastic. They hold up really well. I mean, when was the last time you watched a movie from the 80s and you went, oh, that looked like Jaws 3, not for nothing. But
fucking love Jaws 3.
I do too, but the effects are ghastly.
I like Jaws 3, actually.
So
It's not funny.
it's a great
like
movie. But the effects are ghastly. So yeah, this is I love Lance, I love Brian. It's a happy it's a happy movie. It's not a happy movie, but
so happy.
It's an Abby feel good movie. I am going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 dogs named Mushroom that I just want to squeeze. Got like cute rage.
I just realized I can use the same clip for both of your guys's.
Yeah.
Okay. Abby, you mentioned, like Adam, you said 10, 15 years. You're not sure. Abby, you said you not know the first time. I know I was 11 years old. I was in grade 5. I was living in Canada. And my grandfather took me to the video store and
Flash gas station.
Rented this because it was his favorite movie. No, this was an actual video store. We were living in Canada.
Grandfather's favorite movie.
I love
Yeah, it was one of his favorite horror movies.
Wow.
And he's my introduction to horror. He's what got me into it.
He's your
because my
Uncle
mom
Kevin.
wouldn't let me watch. My mom wouldn't let me watch horror movies. But whenever he was with me, he'd be like, "Oh, we'll rent this one. We just won't say anything."
I love that.
So we watched Pumpkinhead, and I fell in love with it. And Brian Bremer's character in this too. Again, I was a kid. He was like, this kid is so badass. Like he's going up against Pumpkinhead. So that kind of cemented like my love of Brian Bremer as an actor. Dude, you've been in some fantastic movies. You've been in some pretty shitty ones, but always you're great. This movie does have some problems, but they are hidden so well from a master of the craft. The creature has its limitations, and Winston manages to hide those perfectly. The story is very basic. It can start to drag in a few places, but just as it's starting to drag, the cinematography pulls you back in. Dropped out of, yeah, exactly. Just gonna drop a chick out of a tree now. Boom, you're back. You're invested. But the music, the cinematography, everything about it, it just pulls you right back in. This is probably peak folk horror to me. A lot of people want to like rag on your what's that new one?
Midsummer?
Midsummers or your Wicker Men's. To me, this is folk horror. This is what I want to see in my folk horror film. I'm just gonna gush. If I could go for another 20 minutes. It's just gonna be gushing. This is 100% a 5 out of 5 for me. This, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5. I'm going to spare Adam this. I was going to go with something else, but I'm going to go 5 out of 5. Lance Henriksen's sweaty flamethrower scenes out of 5.
Yes.
What were you going to say?
5 out of 5 dead kids.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I learned my lesson after the Pet Cemetery clip. I'm just not going to do that anymore. All right, Abby, where can they find us?
You can find us. First of all, thank you to everybody that's written to us. We really dig that a lot. You can find us at hormonalwerewolves@gmail.com if you'd like to request some movies, tell us what you like. What do you like about us? You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Threads, on TikTok, Hormonal Werewolves and the number 3. Yeah, anywhere but X, you can find us. So look us up, man.
Great.
And Ryan, you still got a little side gig going on?
Just 1 second. There, I got that out of the way. I'm not going to use this moment to talk about my side gig. I'm going to use this moment to pull a bit of an Adam and share a story. Because again, we've mentioned Brian Bremer a few times. I don't know if a lot of you out there know. Brian Bremer had a gig for a while playing Mr. Peanut.
That's right.
And I have a very interesting history with Mr. Peanut.
The Planters Peanut?
Yeah, like the monocle,
The
the
little
cane.
cartoon with the
That's who he voiced.
He was the voice.
He voiced
of,
Mr. Peanut.
I had
yeah.
no idea. Okay.
Brian Bremer actually does a lot of voice work now. That's one of the biggest, bigger. That's one of the things he does.
That's fantastic. I had no idea. I learned something today.
But I'm terrified of Mr. Peanut. I don't know if I've ever told you guys this.
I think in Atlantic City you mentioned
maybe
it.
in Atlantic City. I was alone one time in my. We were living in an apartment. I had stayed home from school. I wasn't feeling well.
Is this Ryan time? Oh
no. And I looked out my window. I was watching like Judge Judy or some shit as a kid, and I looked out my window, and there, walking down the street, was Mr. Peanut.
Were you feverish?
No, I was not feverish. I was faking being sick. I just didn't want to go to school.
Mm.
Top hat, monocle, giant peanut body, skinny legs, just walking down the street, doing a little dance while walking, like waving his cane. Looks up at me, gives a little wave of his cane, keeps on dancing. And I'm like,
it's like The Conjuring. It's like The Conjuring.
What the fuck is going on?
Dancing
and
in
of
the
course,
tulips.
I'm the only one in my house. Yeah. I'm the only one in my house, so I'm like, oh shit, I gotta grab because I was a nerdy kid and I had a video camera. So I ran to my room to grab my video camera. And I ran, this is now the second floor of the apartment. We had a really fancy apartment. And I went to look out the window in my mom's room because I was facing the street again. He had disappeared. I wasn't able to get video footage of Mr. Peanut walking down the street
in
and then
Canada.
I was terrified because he acknowledged me. I ran back downstairs to lock the door.
Yes, I would too. That's some Pennywise bullshit right there. You don't want to play that game.
To this day, nobody believes me that Mr. Peanut was walking in front of my apartment.
I kept thinking there was a reveal, like it wasn't really Mr. Peanut. It was
I don't know that it was. It might have been the devil. I mean,
and this is, I did not live in a big city. I was in rural Canada. My town population was 900 people. So this isn't like
there's no punchline to this. This is
there's
just a
no
horror
punchline.
story.
I saw Mr. Peanut. He acknowledged my existence, and then he disappeared
with a little tip of the hat.
So
now he's in your closet.
Shout out to Brian Bremer for voicing a character that to this day, every time I see a jar of Planters peanuts, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
I love that so much.
Adam, what are you up to?
Oh, Adam.
Well, I don't know how I want to tell this. All right.
This one time back in the late 90s, I dressed up as Mr. Peanut.
I was walking down the street.
I saw some kid in a Raptors hat up, and I was like, "Hey!" Okay, so I've you guys. All right, so we're at 293 subscribers, right? So we're trending in the right direction. Still trying to think of ways to drum up new business here. I've mentioned before many times on the show, actually, that my Uncle Kevin got me into horror movies. I used to go over his house. We would he would make me a couch fort. He'd throw Godzilla or Dracula or whatever inside said couch fort. It was amazing, great time. I think I also brought up the fact that he's an attorney, but prior to being the greatest weed smoking attorney you've ever met, this is going to sound a little far fetched, but it's true. He did some stuff with hot air balloons. He ran like a little side gig where he would take people up. Like there's a thing in Pittsburgh called the Regatta, which is a boat and a hot air balloon show. So he had like a little side gig with like the hot air balloons, and he still has a lot of leftover from that stuff because kind of like, you know how it's impossible to throw a television away. You have to like get somebody to take it. You can't just imagine trying to get rid of a hot air balloon equipment. It's next to impossible. So he still has a lot of it in his basement. This is going to sound like it's not related, but it is. Just follow me here. I was on a I have an office type job. I work from home, but we have Teams, like Microsoft Teams.
Mm-hmm.
And we're introduced to like new hires on there. And I met a new employee today. His name's Alfonso. And Alfonso, prior to working with us, used to work at Goodyear. So he could put, like changing tires, changing oil,
hot air balloons,
shocks, all that kind of stuff. So me and him became fast friends. He's a horror fan, and so am I. And we started talking to each other. And also, I should have prefaced with Alfonso is a little person. He's not short and yeah, he's like a dwarf.
He's a dwarf.
So dwarf is okay, but midget is bad. So
he has dwarfism.
Okay,
dwarfism is a condition.
He has dwarfism, right? So I was talking to him, and I got to thinking between the leftover hot balloon stuff and my new friend Alfonso. Here's what I'm about to offer the listeners. The next time you're in a car accident, or you have a flat tire, or you run out of gas, you could call AAA.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could email me at hormonaloompaloompa@gmail.com. So here's what you can do. You want to wait for a tow truck? Or do you want to wait for a hot air balloon with Alfonso, my little friend, flying to you?
Hello to my little friend.
We can get to you in all 5 counties of Pittsburgh. He will land the hot air balloon. So it's something like to be like excited about. And then you can get out and fix your car, and you can be on your way.
I don't know if me putting Vengabus on the Schindler's List trailer or you creating an email address called Hormonal Oompa Loompa is going to get us canceled faster. I don't know which one.
You call something else. Hormonal Midget Rescue.
Fantastic. Yeah, I don't see any issue with that.
Oh yeah, that won't get us canceled at all.
It's just Danny DeVito showing up, being like, "I'm gonna fucking save y'all now."
And just to let you know, he's totally on board with it.
That would be my dream.
It's totally real.
Literally, if I was broken down the side of the road, to have a little person in a hot air balloon.
That's what I mean. That's my point. You'd almost be excited that you broke down.
It would be my dream.
There comes Alfonso.
Is he going to be wearing the outfit and sing a song?
Wearing a Corchester hat, like some horn.
Because if he's not going to be singing the song and wearing the orange makeup, it's really not. I'll just get CAA.
That's tier 2 pricing, but we can make it happen.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Once we get over 300 subscribers.
Fantastic.
Talk up. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
guys.
this is our last episode ever.
Ever.
YouTube won't allow us to put our stuff on anymore. More so for my Schindler's List joke.
230 of our subscribers were little people. We're down to 2.
I wish.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody's out looking for him, right?
Yeah.
Where do you think he's gonna come back to? Back to his lair.
We'll be ready for him.